Hey everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody, and I'm sharing a quick tutorial with you. Well, it's not real quick, but it's a tutorial with you on how I made this book for Calen's artwork. Now, he's only in kindergarten, but I do have 3 years of preschool of artwork that I have in bins, and it's just starting to pile up so much. So I decided to do these books where I take pictures of all of his artwork and include it in here. So I have a picture of every single thing, unless there's like a couple things that I just don't really need. But I have pictures of every single thing that he did, the artwork that he did, and then I kept a few of my favorite ones. Some of my favorite ones are going to go in my scrapbook. Some of them are going to go in the bin to keep, but I do have pictures of all of them. So I still get to really keep them and have the memory of them, but I don't have bins and bins and bins and bins of them. And then also, as you can see, this book kind of has a little bit of a story. I've added captions. I've kind of categorized the artwork in different things, different categories. Like these are the ones about handprints, and then I have ones about holidays. And I just kind of categorize in whatever way I feel like it when I'm making the book. And I have all of it, and it's all right here. It's a lot easier to flip through this book and see it. It's preserved a lot better than, pieces that may be falling apart. I mean, let's be real. A lot of these artwork pieces that they bring home from school are halfway falling apart sometimes when they get home to us. And then as you can see, I have actually a few pictures of Calen himself during his first year. So on the back, I have his first day pictures, and then I have a couple pictures of him at school. And then right here, he did summer camp at the end of that year. So I didn't have very many pictures from it, but he did 2 weeks of summer camp, so I included those as well. So this is just a nice little overview of a book that I've already completed. So now I'm going to take you into the book that we're going to complete together. The first step is to gather all of your artwork in one place. So I keep all of mine in bins, and what I've done before I started recording the video is I separated them by year. So this is all of his artwork from his second year of preschool. So I've already done the book for the first year, as I just showed you in the overview, and then now we're creating his book from his second year. And as you can see, there's hats on top, there's painted pictures, there's colored pictures, there's a piece of tile that they decorated, there's a hat from his summer camp from after his second year of preschool. So I've got a whole bunch. So now that we have all this gathered, we need to do step 2, which is sorting through all of the items. So I've sped up this part because this took me a little bit. This is probably one of the more intensive pieces of this, but you can sit down and do all of this in one day. It's gathering it could be very difficult if you don't have it all together, but separating it can be a little bit daunting. It just kind of depends on how you want to separate it. Now, what you just saw me very quickly pass to the side was a shaker. I'm not going to take a picture of that because you can't even tell what it is. So there's no point in me taking a picture of that. But I have all of the other pieces, and we're just kind of separating them. I tore off the pieces out of the book that he had colored on, but threw away the book. I'm throwing away the piece of paper that he had painted on that's got a big rip in the middle of it. I'm just kind of sorting through. No real rhyme or reason, except for whatever makes sense to me. So they had done some artwork that they had put on stickers. So I'm going to cut up this larger piece, and then I'm going to put the stickers. I didn't mention it, but in the overview, if you noticed at the very front of the book, I have this little pocket. It's a clear pocket. I think it was like 6 inches by 6 inches or 5 inches by 5 inches. It's a little pocket that I have put in the front of the book, and I'll show you that later when I'm actually creating the book online. But I am going to use that to put some of these things in here that I want to keep that are small, like those stickers with the artwork on them. Pulling out a few pieces as we go along, putting them in order. So as you can see, he's got the alphabet sheets. I'm putting those in order. He's also got the numbers. I'm putting those in order so that it makes sense to me. If I include them, which I haven't made that decision yet, but if I include each of the letters in the alphabet, of course, I would want them to go in order. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to show you just a little bit of this, and then we're going to skip ahead to the next step. So there are a few things that I'm going to pull aside, and I'll go ahead and tell you a few of them. So I'm going to pull aside his Father's Day little survey thing that he did where he talks about his dad, what his dad's favorite food is, what he likes to do with his dad. Those type of things are what I will keep. I'm going to take pictures of them and put them in the book, but I'm also going to keep them and put them in my actual scrapbook and keep them forever. Those are kind of special. Here's another set of these artwork footprint things where they were turned into stickers. The stickers, again, will go in that little pocket at the front of the album. If I had thought about it at the time, all I could think about at the time was just keeping those things. But if I had thought about it at the time, I could have sent a few stickers to, like grandmas and granddaddies and aunts and uncles and things like that, because they actually would have liked to see those. But I didn't, and so I have all of them left, but they'll go in the little book to keep forever. Now we're moving on to step 3, which is to photograph each of the items individually. I have my nice little pile over here to the left of the screen, and I'm just literally taking each of these things and taking pictures of them. Now I have a piece of white foam board on my desk that I'm using as the background for each picture. I tried to take pictures of the hats standing up, but they just don't photograph well. It just kind of was falling over and there's weird shadows. So I just flattened them out. It's easier to actually take pictures of them, and then it's easier to see them in the book as well. And I just do this for every single item. Now, as I'm going through here, I'll realize a couple of things I don't actually want. So as you saw at the beginning, there's the alphabet A through Z, and then there's the numbers 1 through 20 of different little art things that he did. Now, if he had actually written on them, I would have kept it because it was there. It would have been his own handwriting. However, this second year of preschool, they weren't actually writing. They were just pasting things on there. So they were just kind of pasting the letter on top of the worksheet. And then I put all of these things, after I've taken pictures of them, I put them back in the box because I'm going to keep the originals until I get my photo book back and I'm happy with it. And then I will recycle these or whatever. Just going through, very simple. Now, when I get to the alphabet ones, the A through Z and the 1 through 20, I realize that I don't want 26 pictures of a construction paper letter in my little book. There's just no point. Again, like I said, if it was his handwriting, that would be a little bit different, but all it is he pasted some construction paper on top of a letter. Okay, so you notice I'm putting some things to the left and some things to the right. The things to the right are the things that I'm going to keep forever and put back in the bins or put in my scrapbook. And the things to the left are the things that are going to get put in that big cardboard box and will get recycled. So going back to my thought about the A through Z, when I get to the point where I'm taking pictures of those, which I'm not going to make you sit through all of this, but I will give you a few tips. When I get to the point where I'm taking the pictures of those A through Z items, I realize I don't want 26 construction paper letters pasted in pictures of those in my little book. That's just no point. So what I do is I take I take A, B, and C. These are the items I'm keeping. I'm just going to go ahead and stick them right in there. Now, the other ones are going to go in my scrapbook album, which is why they didn't go in that box. But the other ones that I've set aside thus far will go in my scrapbook, and I will include those later. So going back to my thought, I keep getting sidetracked as I see things, but going back to my thought, the A through Z, I just don't need all of them. So what I do is I take A, B, and there's 2 sheets for each letter. I take the A and I take the Z and I take pictures of those. And then in the actual book, I'm going to say A something to Z. And so I have pictures of the first and the last. And the same thing for the numbers. Instead of doing all the 1 through 20, I just do 1, 2, and 3. And I make a little note about it in the book because it's the same thing over and over and over again. And his handwriting's not on it because at this point he wasn't really writing very well. He was only 2. So he wasn't, or 2.5. He was almost 3. He turned 3 that year in preschool. So anyways, that's my thought on that. So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead and we'll move on to the next step. Step 4. Now it's time to set aside a few, which I've been doing all along, but now is officially time to set aside a few to go in my album and a few to actually keep forever. So this is my little pile of ones that I want to keep, and I'm sorry for the camera shaking. I was grabbing a couple things, but these are the ones that I want to keep. So I've got a couple pictures. I've got a school picture of all of his friends. I've got some little books that they made. I've got the stickers that I had mentioned all along the way. I've got his school assessment. I've got the me and my dad check questionnaire thing that he filled out with his teacher. And then I have the larger little artwork pieces that were part of the stickers. I'm showing you right now. Here's the little pocket that I'm talking about that's at the front. Now, this is not the book that it will go in, but this is exactly what it'll look like. So it's a resealable pocket at the front. And these books won't fit sideways in them, but it will fit up and down. So the pocket does close, or you can just slip the top part of the pocket into the pocket so you don't have to like enclose the items. See, that one's a little bit too tall. So what I'll do is I'll just slip the flap of the pocket within and then still put my little pieces in there. And then I'm going to cut apart these stickers as I'm showing you here so that they fit in the little pocket as well. So those are the things that I'm going to set aside to go into the album pocket or the book pocket. Then I've got a couple other things that are set aside for other reasons. So I've got the things like the hat from his preschool, from his summer camp after preschool. I've got these little tiles that they decorated. I've got a couple other little artwork pieces that are going to go in my Keep Forever box. I'm going to pull that out, and this is actually a Rubbermaid container. Now it's actually fairly small, so as you can see there's a t-shirt. That shirt is actually from whenever he did his first year on a basketball team. I've got a couple other things from preschool the previous year, and then some, an apron that he made. So those are going to go in my storage closet to keep. Now I'll probably, when he gets probably about 3rd or 4th grade, I'm going to have to upgrade to a larger Rubbermaid container, but my goal is to have one container for his entire time in school. This is the box of all the things that I've taken pictures of. Those are being set aside to either throw away or recycle once I get my book in and after I review it to make sure that I'm happy with it. And then these other ones right here in this little pile to the left are going to go in my scrapbook. Now that we're done with the actual physical artwork, we're going to move on to step number 5, which is uploading all of the photos to my computer and editing them. So I've got the screen of my computer here, as you can see, and this is the first time I've ever done this, so I was so excited that it worked. I just thought it was so brilliant that you can actually see the screen here on the video as well and see what I'm doing. So I've got all of my pictures here. There are a couple duplicates whenever I took photos in different directions to see what works best, but I will delete any duplicates before I actually start the bookmaking. So I've got all my photos uploaded to my computer, and I use a Mac, so I'm just using iPhoto, and I'm sitting here and adjusting the photos. Now I'm trying to get the brightness about the same on each of the photos. So you'll see me kind of flip back and forth here, trying to figure out if the brightness is the same from photo to photo. The goal is to have the photos about the same, so when they're in a book, you don't have like one dark photo and one light photo. Now, it's impossible to get them all the same, but you know, I could definitely try. And then I go back and I delete any of the duplicate photos that I'm not going to use. And you do want to make sure that they are the correct orientation whenever you're actually editing the photos, so that when you upload it to whatever photo company's website that you're using, they're all the right direction already. It just makes it a little bit easier. So I continue this process until I finish all of the photos. Very simple. On to step number 6. So I'm actually using Shutterfly to make my book today. So this is not a sponsored video. It's just who I used last time and it worked out well. So I'm doing it the same. So now I'm going to save all the photos to my desktop. I have a hard time uploading photos from iPhoto because I have about 1.5 billion photos on iPhoto. So whenever I go to a photo website and have to upload photos, it takes me forever to find them. So I just create a folder on my desktop and then I copy and paste all of the photos there. Now I am going to go back in my photo library and go ahead and find the photos from Calen's first day of school, because as you saw in my overall review at the very beginning of this video, I like to include his first day of school photos. So I'm just kind of going through my photo library going, oh, okay, where did I put those? And then I found them here. I was at one point really good about creating folders of different events. Haven't been so good about that recently, but I was at one point, and I had put all of his preschool photos into one folder. So I'm going to head and copy the 3 photos I have from his first day of school, and then I'm just going to look for 1 or 2 other photos from that year that I want to include in the book as well. There's no real rhyme or reason for which ones I'm picking. I'm just picking ones that have good color, have him in them obviously, and preferably where he's smiling or tells a bit of a story. So I'm just kind of flipping through, and I'm going to pick this one of him on the jungle gym because he just looks like he's having fun, and then there's a little bit of a story about him hanging out. Like this is his favorite part of school where they get to hang out on the playground. So I'm just saving a few of those right there to the folder as well. And then we're going to go to Shutterfly's website and create a book. All right, I've got all my photos saved in that folder, and I'm going to pull up Shutterfly here. Now, you can use any photo website that has books, photo books. I just happen to like Shutterfly. So I'm showing you here, they have a couple different options, different photo book options, and I'm going to use the 10 by 10 book. That is the same size my other one was, and I want them to be somewhat consistent. They don't have to be exact by any means, but I do want them to be somewhat consistent. And as you can see here on Shutterfly's website, they have two very basic books at the top. They have one called a modern black and one called a modern white. Now I'm using the modern white because I just like the white background. I think it gives it a clean and crisp look, but they have a ton of different themes here, and you can see they all have different themes about, you know, the backgrounds of the pages. I want mine to be basic and white so I can create it how I want to. This one, you can actually add photo boxes, you can add text boxes, you can move things around. There's no really prescribed template. They do have options to the left of the screen, as you can see, that you can create a template on each page, and you don't really have to think much about it other than to fill in the boxes with photos and write in the other boxes with text. But I like having the option to create my own. So now you want to select every single photo, and I don't know why I couldn't like select all. I was having problems, and then I ended up figuring it out later. Yeah, here we go. Brilliant me. This was late when I was doing this, but you're going to select all of the photos and then upload them to the website. Once your photos are uploaded, now you can start creating your book. If you click on the My Photos at the top, you'll see that you have all of your photos, and I've done other projects here, so I have other folders with photos in them, but these are all the photos for this particular project. So now that they're all there, I can really start going and creating my book. So I'm going to go back to the home page, go to the books, and select my 10 by 10 book that I'm actually going to be working with. And I'll show you a little bit of it, but it's really kind of specific to however you want to make your book. I, again, like the modern white one that I'm going to show you in just a moment, but you can really work on any of these. Some of these are loved themed, some of them are vacation themed, some of them are like birthday themed. They have a bunch of different ones, and you really could find a lot to fit your needs. And it tells you, you know, that the little code there says they're called storytelling books, basically. And it gives you the pricing. When I actually did this, they were on sale, and they seem to always have some sort of coupon code, so keep an eye out for that. I also ended up, so it was on sale already, and then there was also a coupon for if you spent $39, you got free shipping, and I think my book ended up coming out to about $38 because I had to add a couple extra pages, which you do have that option whenever you're making your book. You can add extra pages in the book. So by the time I did that, I think it was like at $38, so I added a few things, a few extra pages just to be able to get me over that $39 threshold to get the free shipping. It was totally worth it. All right, so I've got my book, and it'll walk you through it. It gives you a step-by-step process if you want it to, or you can just skip it. I skipped it because I've done this before and I knew exactly what I wanted. Very first thing I do is actually create my spine. You can have a message on your spine, and mine has a message, and I just put Calen's name, and then I put preschool year 2014 to 2015 because that's this particular year. So when it's on a shelf, you've got your message that's viewable right there on the spine, and that's exactly how I did the first one. Now, I'm going to be doing this every single year. I probably won't use the same template or the same colors every single year, but I just happened to do it this one because I really, really liked the way his first year book turned out. These books are probably right out a 1/4 inch thick. It's 10 inches by 10 inches. It fits very well on a bookshelf. Now, I keep mine on the shelf with my scrapbook album, so it's all there together. I almost view this kind of like a mini album. And as you can see from the screen right now, you have the option to change the font, you have the option to change the color, the size, the spacing. Do you want it centered or, left aligned or right aligned? You have a lot of options. You just pick whatever you like best and you can play around with it. Now, it has like a tan background. That's not actually going to be that way whenever when the photo actually prints, and that's what I'm just checking on here to make sure that it's not actually going to be that way. And you can change it. You have options. You can sit there and move it around. Just make sure that when you change things, you save them. That's the only thing I would just recommend. And I believe Shutterfly actually does pretty good at auto saving, but I didn't save it before I had exited out of it. So I wanted to make sure when I had changed the spine option, I wanted to make sure that it was still there. And it is. So now, as I mentioned, you've got all of these different prescribed templates here on the left that you can pick from. Now, I will use a few of these, but most of them I'm actually going to do where I add a photo or add a text box where you can see right here at the top. And you want to add your photos to your project. So you've got a storyboard where you can create like a board where you could organize your photos, which I'm not going to do, but you could do that. You've got where you can do an overview of all of your pages right here, where you can kind of see, okay, well, I've got this here, this here, this here, this here. And that actually makes it really easy if you're trying to organize. I took my photos basically in order that I want to put them in the book, so it's pretty easy. It's fairly easy for me to do that. You've also got book options here, and this is where you can add that clear pocket, which is what I'm going to do right here. It's called a Memorabilia pocket. I'm going to go ahead and check that box and include it in my book so I don't forget to do that later. You have options to add like glossy pages. I think there's like a non-glare page option. You have a couple of different options right there. So this is where you're going to pull in your photos and go ahead and put them into your project. It's already on Shutterfly, but I'm just including them in my project. So I'm going to select all, hit done, and they're going to pop up at the bottom of, you can either have them fill in the pages for you or put them on a photos tab at the bottom. And I want it on the photos tab so I can pull these photos onto each page. As you can see, they're all right there at the bottom, and I could I can drag them from the bottom to each page, and that's where you're doing kind of your overview. So you could go ahead and do that if you wanted to make sure you have enough photos on each page and space them out, and then actually go into each page individually and organize it however you want to. And these are my first day of school photos, just like I did on the other book, and I'm putting them here. So I'm going to speed this up just a little bit so you can see how I kind of put the pages together. It's fairly simple. It's just really kind of trial and error, and just do one photo at a time. I'm just kind of playing around to see what I like. And this is where it really starts to kind of go pretty quickly. Once you start adding the photos to the pages, it starts to kind of come together pretty quickly. So I was starting to look for, okay, well, I have my Welcome to Preschool page right here on the first, our picture right here on the first page. Then I have our Letterland curriculum here, and I've got the A through Z. And what I realized as I was doing this, the pages had the templates already on them, which is why it wasn't letting me change it from portrait to landscape. And I'm going to figure that out in a moment whenever I actually go to the individual page that it had, when I noticed that it already had the template on there. But as you can see, you can select how you want your photo, like the spacing of the photo, and where you can kind of crop your photo within the book here. And you can kind of fit it however you want to do. It takes a little bit of playing around. I will say that it's not really a learning curve, but it just takes a little bit to get used to. If you haven't done this in a while, or you don't do this ever, or if you've never done it, it takes just a little bit to kind of get used to the way that you put it on there. So as you can see, there's that one template highlighted, and that's what it was doing. And that's when I realized, oh wait, it's got a template. So what I'm going to do is I am finding a template that actually fits with what I need here, and I'm putting the description, and then I'm going to, most of the other pages I'm just going to leave blank, and I'm going to make it my own. Now it'll tell you, you just saw that little orange box pop up on the top right, and it's telling me, okay, my text is too big for the box, but I can adjust that. I can make the box bigger, I can make my font smaller, I can change the color of my font, I can do whatever I want to make it fit. But the very first thing is kind of typing in everything I want. And then I go, okay, well, it's too small. So what I do is I, change the size of my font, and then I can change the size of the box as well. It's really easy. You have a lot of options within here. I'm just flipping through the templates there to see which one I like better. And if you don't like it, all you have to do is highlight it and then just basically hit delete on your keyboard. And you have an advanced editing option, as you can see, and that's where I was adding a photo. So I'm taking it, I'm changing it to landscape horizontal instead of vertical, and then I'm changing my photo. I'm just looking to see if there's a template that fits better, but you always have that option. You have an add pages option, add photo, and add text box up here right at the very top. This took me probably about an hour to put this whole book together once I had all the photos taken and edited and uploaded and everything. So I'm going to speed this up quite a bit so you can really see how it comes together. But it just takes some finagling. You just have to get used to the way that the photos are and how the book is put together, and then you just kind of make it work for what you want. You can see I keep adjusting the sizes of the photos and the size of the text box, and then the spacing of everything and the color of everything, and then, where things are in the book. And I just go back to make sure they all kind of match. I want my color of my font to be the same. I'm adding each of them here, moving it around. I keep the background white, as I mentioned for you before. I just like the clean look of the background, and since I'm using a white background to back my photos, whenever I'm taking my photos, it just seems to do really well. And just constantly kind of flipping back and forth, see what I like, see what I don't like, adjust things, add captions, change the size of things. This is my back cover, so I'm going to add a text box right here, and I'll kind of do a little description of what things I want to remember. Tell you a little bit about the teachers, a little bit about the class. Calen actually started his second year of preschool going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we ended up adding Tuesday and Thursday later on, and so we ended up going 5 days a week. So I'm including that here because that's something I will not remember later, but that was kind of a big part. That was really when he first started going to school. I mean, he got out at noon every day, but he was going 5 days a week, and that's kind of a big deal for a 3-year-old. We did it after he turned 3 in December. I'm changing how the front cover is. Now the front cover is a different layout than the previous one. The back cover is pretty much the same, but the front cover is a little bit different, and I'm just going to put my title as well. I love this picture of him, and I kind of like how it's on an angle. I just think it adds a little bit more interesting, but you can always change it. As you can see, I'm trying a whole bunch of different options to see if I like any of them a little bit better. And then it's got a little white border around the photo as well, as you can kind of see. I kept flipping the photo. I just wanted to see what worked. And I just love how that looks. It's my little boy. I love having these little books. And you know what? He flips through them a lot. Nobody's ever going to go through the Rubbermaid container except for me whenever he graduates from high school. But these little books, they're going to sit on the shelf. And as I mentioned, he's already gone through his previous one a lot. And I did that later this last fall. I sat down and did that one day. I can do this entire project in one day. You just need a couple of hours to be able to set aside and do it. It's a little daunting because you think, oh my God, I have all this artwork that I need to go through and sort through and just figure out what to do with. But if you can sit down and do it all in one day, think about, first of all, you get rid of a lot of things and you create a lot of space if you have a storage issue in your house. But you also really kind of preserve the memories, and you get it in one centralized location. That this book is going to be a lot more user friendly. It's going to be a lot easier to flip through this book than it's going to be to flip through a Rubbermaid container of artwork and memorabilia. So I'm extremely happy with doing this. Now, this idea came from another mom in his preschool. When he started preschool 3.5 years ago, on our first day, our orientation day, one of the teachers had mentioned that a mom had done this, and I had just kind of filed it in the back of my mind and went, oh yeah, that's kind of a cool idea, and then I never did anything with it. But this last fall, we're going to be moving at some point in 2017. I don't exactly know when, but I'm starting to go through closets and dressers and drawers and trying to figure out just stuff that we don't need, that I don't want to move. I hate moving, and then the more and more crap that we have to move just totally sucks. So I'm just trying to get rid of some of that stuff that you don't want to move. And this was a big part of this, because I had baskets and containers and Rubbermaid containers full of the artwork that I just don't need. I mean, truly, I don't need it. So, and it wasn't usable. It was just kind of thrown in a big box. So, or well, even in baskets, because it didn't fit in the box anymore. So I'm just really happy with this solution. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the end. Step 7 of this process is to add the finishing touches onto your book. So I keep flipping back and forth through the book. You have a kind of a preview option, and so I'm just kind of flipping through, going, okay, well, what do I need? Do I need to add something? How's it look? So I've got the first day, I've got his curriculum, there's the spine, the front cover and the back cover. Check my spelling, check the spacing. You just don't want your photos to be too close to the center of the book, because you don't want it to kind of get lost in the crease. You want to make sure that it actually is like the photos are easy to view. And then you also don't want photos too close together. If you're going to have 4 photos on a page, unless you purposefully put them a certain spacing, you want to kind of make sure that they're spaced evenly apart. And as you can see, the preview kind of shows a little bit of a gray shadow in the center of the book, so you can tell if your photo is a little too close to that. Checking my spelling, checking everything that's on each page, making sure my orientation of the photos is good. Again, reading over my captions, making sure it makes sense. Sometimes I'll go back in and I'll add a few extra captions. I'll move things around a little bit, make photos a little bit larger. Also, if you have not added your memorabilia pocket, you can do that at the end here. Whenever you add it to your cart, it gives you the option to add extra things like the glossy pages in the memorabilia pocket, or, or whatnot. And so that's also where I noticed the pricing didn't fit into the promotion code that I was using, and I needed to add a few extra pages. So I added a blank page at the end, and then I have 5 photos at the bottom that you can see I did not include. And so if you want to include any of those, if you have pages that you need to add just to get over a certain dollar amount so you can take advantage of a coupon code or a promotion code, you can include all of those. So it's funny that I even had things that after sorting through all my pictures and taking the pictures and all that, I still had a few pictures that I don't end up using at the end here. One thing to note, I would just make sure, unless you're doing it on purpose, try to make sure that your font stays consistent and the color stays consistent. It just helps add to the book a little bit. It makes it a little bit easier to read and a little bit more clear. And of course, my photos aren't perfect. I could take better photos, but it definitely works for me. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So you just kind of continue this process until you get to the end of your book and that you're happy with how it looks. All right, once you're done, you hit save, and you can also exit your preview. You've got your preview, and you can exit your preview. You just want to save your project, and then you're going to add it to your cart and then continue. And as you can see, it ended up adding a couple pages. It started out as a 20-page book, and then I'm a few pages over. And it kind of breaks down there. You can see my memorabilia pocket. It's a 7x7-inch pocket. I think it was $1.99 if I remember correctly. And then when you add it to your cart, it always gives you extra options. Do you want the lay flat pages? Do you want the book cover to go on top of it? You have all these options, and it tells you how much it is, and you can choose whether you want those or not. I didn't actually upgrade my pages or the quality of my pages any. I just added a few pages, then I added the memorabilia pocket. I did not choose any other upgrades, and I was very happy with it. It gives you the option to upgrade to the glossy pages. Again, I didn't feel like that was necessary, but you can if you want to. You can look at the options and determine if that's something that you want to do. And then once you have it in your cart, you can choose whether you're done, or you can also order photo projects with those same photos, like if you want cards of a certain photo with a certain photo printed on the front or whatnot, you have that option. As you can see, it's giving me options here to add things. They want you to buy more, of course, so it gives you different options of what you can do. And then once you get to your cart, you actually check out. So this is where I realized I wasn't quite to the $39 mark. I think it was like $39.99, and I think it was like at $38.35 or something, if I'm reading that properly. And so I went back and I just added a few blank pages. I think one at the beginning and one at the end, just to make enough to be able to have that saved in the shipping, because I want to say the shipping was $9.99 or $8.99 or something like that. So it ended up being well. So the very last thing is to enjoy your book. It's such a fun project. I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope it's something that can really help you. I really enjoy it personally, and so does my family. So I hope it's something that you find helpful, and let me know if you guys have any questions whatsoever. All right, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.